The extraordinary success of Batman was a catalyst for producer William Dozier to create his own TV superhero universe. So what happened? Stay tuned for our look at the Green Hornet, Dozier's other failed superhero projects, and how the sudden collapse of the entire 60s superhero craze foiled his plans almost overnight. Hi, I'm Brian. Welcome to Boss City. It's time for another road trip, this time to Center City. We've covered the Batman TV series and Batmania in previous episodes, but today we're exploring Dozier's other masked hero, the Green Hornet, along with two abandoned projects that could have expanded his entire Bat universe if the superhero bubble hadn't burst. First up, the Green Hornet. On January 12, 1966, Batman premiered and Batmania exploded across the media landscape. The debut episodes drew gigantic ratings and instantly dominated water cooler and playground conversations. The style, the colors, and the camp had the rest of television looking pale by comparison. Within days, the trade papers were asking studios and networks the same question: what's your answer to Batman? While Hollywood waited to see whether Batman's ratings were a fluke, ABC didn't wait long. Just 6 days after the premiere of Batman, the network announced it was heading further down the superhero road with William Dozier's Greenway Productions and 20th Century Fox optioning the rights to the Green Hornet. And 6 weeks later, still basking in the glow of the bat signal, ABC went all in. They bought the Green Hornet without a pilot, committing it to the fall 1966 schedule. Who was the Green Hornet? The Green Hornet, created by George Trendle and Fran, began on radio as a hard-boiled crime fighter in the 1930s, battling racketeers, organized crime, smugglers, and bootleggers. In two Universal movie serials in the 1940s, he evolved into a pulp hero. Dozier's TV series starred Van Williams, already familiar to ABC audiences from Bourbon Street Beat and Surfside 6. As Britt Reid, the crusading newspaper publisher who spent his nights secretly moonlighting as a masked crime fighter posing as a criminal, Williams played him with deliberate restraint, serious, and unflappable. And then there was Bruce Lee. The character of Kato may have started as a valet, chauffeur, and bodyguard, but Lee's Kato wasn't an employee, he was a partner. And Lee was not a trained actor, but his screen presence was electrifying. And his chemistry with Van Williams was impressive. And his fight scenes were something American television audiences had simply never seen before. His speed, precision, and martial arts techniques seemed otherworldly. Kato was the dynamic part of the series and the reason many viewers tuned in each week. Filling out the cast was Wendy Wagner as Miss Case, or Casey, Britt's secretary and confidant. She was strong, intelligent, and fully aware of his secret. Casey was not there for eye candy, comic relief, or playful flirtation. She was part of the operation, which was unusual for that type of role in that day and age. Veteran character actor Walter Brooke played District Attorney Frank Scanlon, the fourth person in on the Green Hornet secret. His alliance with Britt and Kato allowed them to break cases from the inside while Scanlon tied the legal knots in public. And of course, we can't forget the Black Beauty, one of the coolest TV cars of the decade. Famous car designer Dean Jeffries customized a matte black Chrysler Imperial that was loaded with gadgets, missiles, buzz guns, and a directional Hornet sting. While the Batmobile flaunted its fins and fire, the Black Beauty was a stealth car meant for infiltration and intimidation. Because Green Hornet shared producers with Batman, there was an expectation that the show would be similar. Both series starred masked heroes, were narrated by William Dozier, and featured cool music scores. But the similarities ended there. While Batman and Robin faced off against over-the-top arch-villains with henchmen in matching sweatshirts using ridiculous gadgets and themed hideouts, the Green Hornet fought against corruption, extortionists, and the underworld. Serious, noir-influenced, modernized crime drama. More untouchables than Batman. Hoping that the series would create a merchandising windfall, a sort of Hornet mania, ABC in exchange for the merchandising rights, agreed to pay Fox and Greenway the extremely large licensing fee of $72,000 per episode, which was comparable to the fee paid for an hour-long series. ABC was able to secure 65 licenses with companies like Mattel, Ideal Toys, Ben Cooper Costumes, Corgi Toys, Monogram Models, and Gold Key Comics, generating more than an estimated $265,000 in advances against royalties before the first episode even aired. Now, my brother and I had some of the Green Hornet merch. My favorite was the wallet from Mattel and the Corgi Black Beauty. And I was quite envious of my brother's Green Hornet outfit for the Captain Action figure. When the show debuted, everything was in place to replicate the success of Batman. The media coverage, the ads, the promotions, the toys and games. The only thing missing was viewers. Airing on Fridays at 7:30 against The Wild Wild West on CBS and Tarzan on NBC, the series initially generated a sizable audience in the big cities. But by the 5th episode nationally, it was ranking in the bottom 20 of the Nielsen ratings. While secret agent James West tangled with outrageous villains and Tarzan wrestled crocodiles, Britt Reid was slipping into warehouses to take down racketeers. The only buzz being generated about the show was about Bruce Lee. ABC had featured him in their promotional campaigns.
ABC, where I'll be seeing you in the Green Hornet. I am Bruce Lee, inviting you to join me every Friday night on most of these ABC stations.
By the time Green Hornet and Kato popped their heads out of a Gotham City window in the 7th episode of Batman Season 2 for a cameo appearance with the Cape Crusaders, Batman's ratings had dropped significantly enough that it did not provide much of a promotional boost. So why did the show fail to attract an audience? Several reasons. First of all, the superhero frenzy had cooled by September '66. So the Green Hornet was going to have to live or die on its own merits. So was the show any good? As a kid, I loved the costumes, the car, and the gadgets, but the plots were way over my head. And frankly, the criminals were boring. Re-airings on MeTV in the last 10 years has given me a new appreciation for the show. The nostalgia factor aside, I really enjoyed the performances of the leads, the jazzy music, and the show's slick, dark style. But reviews at the time were mostly negative, with ones from the New York Times, Washington Post, and LA Times particularly harsh. The Hollywood Reporter predicted that, judged by the premiere, the Green Hornet may not be buzzing around too long. Ultimately, the Green Hornet fell between two audiences. Where Batman initially had appeal for adults and kids, the Green Hornet storylines were too serious for kids, and a masked crime fighter with fancy gadgets was too juvenile for adults. Its competition gave the kids more of what they wanted with Tarzan, and the Wild Wild West with his mashup of Western action, James Bond spy thrills with a dash of camp, was more appealing to teens and adults. ABC bought the show without a pilot because of the success of Batman. So why would the originator of TV superheroes produce a show that was nothing like its predecessor? The answer was George Trendle, co-creator and owner of the Green Hornet. His contract with 20th Century Fox and Dozier stipulated that the TV show had to stick closely to the radio show premise, and he retained script approval. He truly believed that the show should be aimed at adults, and most critically, George Trendle was adamant that the Green Hornet not resemble Batman in any way. Memos from the archives of both Dozier and Trendle confirm that they clashed continuously throughout the production. Dozier was hamstrung into producing a show that did not have a clear audience. Now, what I find fascinating is that this is not the first time that Trendle caused confusion over who the Green Hornet should be aimed at. In the 1930s, the radio show was attracting mostly kids. 69% of the listeners of the show were 17 and under, and yet Trendle insisted it was an adult crime drama. Yet, Trendle was marketing Green Hornet masks, toy guns, and premium rings to children. NBC, the show's radio network, shaken by the parents' complaints about the violence on the show, began airing disclaimers describing the show as for adult audiences, all the while marketing to kids continue. This identity crisis repeated itself again as the TV show, also not geared for kids, aired at 7:30 and had dozens of products on the shelf aimed at kids. On January 3rd, 1967, William Dozier resigned to the fact that the Green Hornet days were numbered, sent a memo to George Trendle stating that it was a mistake to make the series so much like the radio show, and if he would have had the freedom, he would have made the show more like Batman, which was what, quote, the public was expecting and also what the network is expecting. Everyone was expecting that, but you. And I think we have let everybody down, and apparently we have even let you down, end quote. 18 days later, ABC officially announced that the Green Hornet would not be renewed. The show finished below number 70 in the ratings, and it tied with NBC's Laredo for the lowest commercial revenue per minute in all of primetime. Trendle himself eventually admitted the tonal problem. In a March 25, 1967 letter to Dozier, he wrote, quote, there was just enough camp in the program to tune out the adult audience and enough corn in it to keep the youngsters interested. So we both suffer, end quote. And then, ironically, the most famous Green Hornet moment came after the show was already doomed. 6 days after ABC officially canceled the Green Hornet, production began on the Batman Green Hornet crossover episodes, A Piece of the Action and Batman Satisfaction. The filming took place right after or right before production wrapped on the Green Hornet series. The final Green Hornet episode aired 2 weeks after these Batman episodes were broadcast. So I wonder if Trendle had to sign off on the crossover of his characters, and that's the reason the filming took place after the Green Hornet was canceled. At any rate, I'm sure that Dozier was aware that the Center City crime fighters visiting Gotham would only help with the upcoming Green Hornet sale to syndication. When Batman hit the local stations when I was a kid, I always looked forward to these crossover episodes. I was disappointed that they did not team up against a common adversary instead of battling each other. Reportedly, Batman and Robin were supposed to win the much-discussed fight with the Green Hornet and Kato. The story goes that Bruce Lee refused to play the scene with Robin being the victor and walked off the set, so the scene had to be rewritten to conclude in a draw. Well, that sounds dramatic, but I'm skeptical about this story. I don't think George Trendle would have allowed Kato to lose to Robin. Dozier and Fox would be selling the show into syndication in just a matter of weeks, and I believe that they were using this crossover to help promote the Green Hornet property and would not have wanted either team to win or lose. And I also don't see how that scenario would have worked within the plot. The Bruce Lee walks off the Batman set story is one of those Hollywood anecdotes that has spread so widely but never had a real source. No 1967 memo, no trade paper rumor, and no interview from the time. Basically, the sources are usually an uncited Van Williams said, quote, often used in Bruce Lee biographies, and unsourced blog posts. Adam West and Burt Ward's biographies both include remembrances of Lee's appearance, but neither mentions problems with the script or Lee walking off. There are many sources, though, that confirm that Bruce Lee was adamant about martial arts being displayed authentically on the show, but no traceable ones about him walking off the set. While the Green Hornet was to be featured in the William Dozier superhero universe anchored by Batman, the next component was to be the classic comic strip crime fighter, Dick Tracy. In the fall of 1966, William Dozier's company and 20th Century Fox shot a pilot for NBC featuring comic strip crime fighter Dick Tracy. With its source material being a comic strip, the pilot suffers from some of the same tonal issues as the Green Hornet. But there are similarities to both Batman and the Green Hornet, so Dick Tracy could comfortably live in the same universe with the two shows. It isn't camp, but there are moments that remove it from realism. Tracy has some gadgets, of course, his two-way TV watch, which was very futuristic in 1966, and an advanced underground lab that requires traveling down a pole standing on a platform, sort of his own bat cave. Like the Green Hornet, there were real guns being drawn, and in the pilot, Tracy survives a gunshot wound. Victor Buono, King Tut from Batman, plays a villain created for the pilot that is very reminiscent of the exaggerated Batman villains. Ray McDonald, Dr. Joe Martin from All My Children, is well cast as Dick Tracy. Interestingly, Eve Plum, Jan Brady, is in the opening credits as Tracy's daughter, but she doesn't appear in the pilot. The show does have a theme performed by the Ventures that showcases a bizarre, almost creepy vocal. The score was by Billy May, who performed the same duties on Green Hornet. NBC ultimately passed on the show. The pilot never aired, and it quietly disappeared until it was resurrected on YouTube 50 years later. The final entry into this stable of superheroes was Wonder Woman. Before Linda Carter, before Kathy Lee Crosby, there was Ellie Wood Walker. In the mid-60s, networks would occasionally request a test film in lieu of financing a complete pilot. And that is what happened with Wonder Woman in late 1966. Ellie Wood Walker starred in Who's Afraid of Diana Prince, written by comedy writers who later wrote for Laugh-In and The Carol Burnett Show. But there was no confusion over tone in this short film. The tone is just outrageously odd. The single scene consists of Diana Prince at home with her overbearing mother, who goes on a diatribe about Diana still being unmarried. The rest of the film consists of Wonder Woman fawning over herself in the mirror, dialoguing with her reflection. And the Wonder Woman in the mirror is actually another actress, Linda Harrison. Other than the narration by William Dozier and the Wonder Woman costume, this superhero project doesn't fit with the other Dozier shows, as it is a strange, uneven sitcom scene in search of a laugh track. Not surprisingly, ABC did not order a pilot or the series, relegating this film to a little-known side note in the Wonder Woman legacy. It was clear by this point the superhero wave had crashed. Dozier was trying to build an interconnected world, but the timing and the tone eluded him. Well, that wraps up this episode and our look at the Green Hornet and William Dozier's lost superhero universe. Do you have any thoughts or memories about the Green Hornet? Have you seen the Dick Tracy or Wonder Woman pilot footage? Well, let me know in the comments. And if you would be so kind, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. I want to thank you so much for watching. This has been Boss City Brian wishing you many blessings. And until next time, as the Green Hornet once said, masks are only a disguise. The job is real. Take care. Bye for now.